Help Them Grow Inc., also known as Vibha, is a very unique organization. Vibha is an Indian word that loosely translates into English as ray, like a ray of light, and in our case, a ray of hope. It was created to allow people who want to create social change an opportunity to do so. We know that there are many different reasons people don't get involved, including their location, a lack of confidence, the extremely daunting work, or they lack community support. By educating, empowering, and enabling anyone that wants to make a difference in the lives of underprivileged children, Vibha is able to substantially impact their lives. So, you have people in North America that want to do something about the plight of underprivileged children in India. And you also have grassroots entrepreneurs in small villages in India who believe they have a solution to a particular problem related to underprivileged children. Vibha is the platform that brings these two groups together. Vibha's vision is to ensure that every underprivileged child attains his or her right to health, education, and opportunity. Given such a broad vision, you may wonder, what do we do? We're a social venture capitalist. We seed, mentor, grow, and scale solutions to systemic problems that impact the lives of underprivileged children. Take, for instance, Sikshana. It's a fabulous solution that ensures every municipal school in India provides what it's supposed to provide: an excellent education to its students. Just because it's a municipal school doesn't mean that the results have to be substandard to a private school. We're now taking this solution across India's various states. Sikshana started off with 40 schools, grew to 90, and will soon be implemented in over 600 schools. UNICEF now wants to work with Sikshana to take the solution even further. So what did we fix? We found a sustainable, scalable, and replicable solution to the systemic problem of underperforming municipal schools. Vibha seeded the social entrepreneur, worked closely with him, brought in required expertise from the outside, and ensured that the solution worked. Now, we're providing that solution to any organization that wants it. Organizations can take that formula and run. Vibha has 4 pedestals: volunteers, donors, social entrepreneurs, and other NGO partners. Vibha is a completely volunteer-driven organization. The absolute core of this organization is the volunteers. Without them, there is no Vibha. These volunteers do everything from fundraising, project selection, monitoring, marketing, grant writing, and more. Also, volunteers beget volunteers. Thus, Vibha in itself is unsustainable if we don't constantly keep recruiting new volunteers. Vibha's donors enable us to invest in social entrepreneurs to bring about sustainable, scalable, and replicable change. They invest capital that is spent responsibly towards finding solutions for systemic problems. The grassroots social entrepreneur is the change agent located on the ground. This is the person who believes that he or she can actually solve a problem. They may not have the know-how, the funds, or the tools, but they do believe that they can solve a problem. That's the first step. If one doesn't believe a problem is solvable, it will never get solved. This pedestal ensures a cure is found to a systemic problem. The last pedestal is the partner NGO. This is where the scaling up of a solution happens. Vibha is not in the business of finding a solution and keeping it to ourselves. We're in the business of finding solutions to various problems related to underprivileged children, and then sharing them with anyone who wants to implement them. Effective means different things to different stakeholders in the Vibha ecosystem. Since we're completely volunteer-driven, using their time effectively is absolutely key. How do we measure that? We measure it through volunteer satisfaction. Providing a volunteer a platform that he or she can be part of and allowing him or her to become part of the solution rather than part of the problem, that in itself is effective. Now, if volunteers spend a large amount of time on small fundraisers, is that effective? In some cases, it very much is, because it sparks off the attitude that says, look, we can solve this. In some instances, it isn't, where that time could have been spent more effectively on something else. The effectiveness of Vibha when it comes to the project and the grassroots social entrepreneur is something else. Here, it's about the best use of limited capital and resources. Should Vibha fund one solution or the other? Which one is more scalable? Which is more replicable? How long will we need to be involved before the solution is self-sustainable? These factors determine the effectiveness of our donor-provided capital. Our projects team looks at all of this extremely carefully and on a regular basis to ensure the most effective use of our capital. When it comes to finding a solution, our effectiveness is purely based on how far and wide the solution can be implemented through partner organizations. While impacting one neighborhood is very important, we measure the effectiveness of the solution Vibha enables by measuring how far the solution can be scaled. We want to ensure that our partner organizations can be used effectively as much as possible to disseminate a solution. We track our success in multiple ways. Is our volunteer base growing? Volunteers form the core of Vibha. The more volunteers, that means more action centers. More action centers means more donations. More donations means more solutions to systemic problems. Are the amount of funds being generated comparable with our dispersal rate? For example, if we have a solution we need to scale, we need to have the funds to support that scaling. Are the solutions we've found scalable? If they're not, then we haven't achieved what we set out to do. How dependent are we on fundraisers versus other forms of funding? We've succeeded only if we have an equal balance of funding resources. These are the kind of factors we use to track the organization's success. Vibha is not a social service. We're a social venture capitalist looking to implement sustainable, scalable, and replicable change. We educate, empower, and enable anyone who wants to make a difference in the lives of underprivileged children. We have many accomplishments that we're proud to tell you about. We have a global volunteer base of about 800 people and close to 4 or 5 times that number who at some point have been Vibha volunteers. Since our inception, Vibha has impacted over 150,000 underprivileged children through 190 social entrepreneurs and over $8 million in direct funding. The Vibha movement has now spread with action centers in 15 cities across the US and 4 cities in India. Our Sikshana project has grown to cover over 600 schools and 75,000 kids, becoming one of the top intervention programs in public school systems in India. And now, UNICEF has adopted that model. Vibha was voted one of the top 200 charities in the Chase Community Giving Drive. Volunteers, volunteers, volunteers. The challenge of a volunteer-driven organization is always the same. How do we constantly recruit, train, sustain, and grow the volunteer base. That's the most challenging piece of Vibha's operation. There are plenty of people globally that want to make a difference. How do we ensure that they actually participate through Vibha and make that desire a reality? Everything stems from the one entity, the volunteer. Another challenge is slow organic growth. For example, we know we have a couple of solutions ready to scale. However, our fundraising does not scale in a similar manner. Another challenge is obtaining grants. We have fabulous success stories that can be scaled. There are plenty of large grants out there available for such solutions. We know we can be more effective in that arena. We'd like to scale DSS, or Doorstep School. DSS is a project that brings the school to the construction site of migrant laborers. These children are often unable to attend school because they're either working or caring for younger siblings. By bringing the school to them, they have an opportunity to gain an education that will directly impact their lives. This solution is ready to scale nationally. We just lack enough resources to take it far and wide. We would seed more projects. We can't seed a project unless we have at least 3 years' worth of funding for it. And finally, we'd hire one full-time person in India to enable corporate social responsibility partnerships. There are major multinational corporations in India, and this person would go to them and forge strong, lasting relationships with Vibha. We want the Vibha movement to go global. We have requests from Australia, the UK, Canada, the Middle East, and others from people who want to start Vibha Action Centers in their countries. We're not there yet, but together, we'll get there.